US is the center of capitalism. I've experienced the best and worst of it. Their model of advice over there is inherently flawed, and I'm being a bit polite there. Ultimately, it's a 1% to care for your wealth. That is, and they would argue that's fee-based.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue that's completely conflicted.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue that you're misaligned with the client,
Mm-hmm.
that you're incentivized to get more of their wealth,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of the advice,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not a fiduciary.
So, hello and welcome to the It's Never About Money community. It's an exciting one because with Santi Burridge, and I am excited to have him on because firstly, we're in a new studio, which is great. But also, I'm super interested in the things that you're doing with technology, how you're, I suppose, allowing advisors, financial advisors to use a platform that helps them connect clients' meaning, the meaning of their life, with their actual accumulation of their money. So, welcome, Santi.
Thanks for having me, Joe. Pleasure to be here. Great studio.
Thank you. So, you've had a bit of a career in financial planning. So
25 years, yeah.
How long?
25.
25 years. So
I know I don't show it, but
so you're 5 years on me.
I'll take it.
So tell me a little bit about the career, your journey. I know that you've made a few changes along the way. You seem like someone who's not scared to take a risk and follow your passion. So
yeah, well, we're going to talk a bit about values today, but I think one of my core ones is pursue work with purpose. And if I'm not purposeful, I'm probably pretty unhappy. But yeah, 25 years ago, started off as a junior. You became an advisor overnight, as you did back then. Bought into an advice firm in 2003, and really that was a moment for me where I started to challenge things. It kind of didn't make sense to me that advisors were kind of on the bottom of the food chain. I kind of looked at this commercially for the first time and went, how is it that, I get paid last but take all the risk, and I'm the head of sales, marketing, technology, compliance, but these guys were all getting paid way more than me, and if everything went to crap, then I was sitting in front of the client going, I'm sorry. It started to really bother me back then. Kind of sent me on a journey of starting to challenge things. And then 2008 happened. That was a watershed moment for me where I realised the industry was all wrong way around.
Global financial crisis?
Yeah. The financial crisis, as the Americans call it, not the global.
Yes.
Yeah. But I'm half my time's in the States. I forget what country I'm in half the time these days. But look, at that point I saw product fail after product failure after product failure after product failure after product failure, and I watched the repercussions of that to people. And I really promised I would never be part of that industry again, and I'd go about trying to make the profession what it deserves to be, which is the best profession in the world. I still believe it's the number one profession in the world. I think this industry does more, this profession does more than accountants does and doctors do, quite frankly. I mean, doctors in the main have looked at, something's wrong, I hope you fix it, or try to give you a crack at fixing it. I think doctors should be getting you way before there's a problem. And I think financial planners get clients way before there's a problem. And the outcomes we provide is extraordinary. So, I had a crack at trying to fix that from the investment side.
So you've gone and had a crack at trying to change things from where the problem actually is.
Yeah.
And probably got pretty frustrated.
Yeah, and came up against the institutional might of the Australian corporate devil. And I can say that now happily. Years ago I couldn't say it because I was stuck my head out and everyone go, geez, listen to him. But, I saw the unethical behaviours of banks head on and fought them head on. And I've got awful war stories of experience how the client wasn't even considered for a moment, and advisors were deemed as salespeople for the institutions and only salespeople for the institutions, and were held at very low regard within them. To where we are today, where they've, that they've left, fortunately, and we're seeing a profession just boom. And it's the most exciting time I've ever been involved in this industry. I love it now. I'm so proud of what it's coming into, and entrepreneurialism, independence, and great businesses like yours popping up and doing extraordinary things for clients. That we're almost not allowed to do. Everything everything was against us, acting in our client's best interest. So I fixed it. I had a crack at the investment side, and then sold that business last year. But I kind of got bored with it towards the end, and decided to thought there was a bigger meaning out there, that the value of advice clearly is helping people lead better lives. It is not delivering a better product. I don't have a better product, and anyone who suggests it does, I would die in the ditch arguing around that the value of advice is helping people understand what they truly want to achieve in life, and helping them get there on that journey. And that's what created Lumiant. And I've been insanely in that for the last 3 years. 28 staff now, 3 countries, and non-stop really.
You would have learned a lot about, I know that you've traveled to the US. In fact, you might be an inhabitant there.
Yeah.
You might be. And you would have learned a lot from just the system that exists there, probably more extremity, greater extremes there when it comes to, I suppose, the negative consequences of capitalism.
Yeah, absolutely. Head on.
Yeah. And so is there some sort of, like when I was thinking about the Lumiant, and we'll get into the Lumiant technology, not into, huge detail, but we want to understand what it is. But, did you look at Lumiant being a kind of way to, I suppose, tamper with the negative aspects of capitalism? Because you often will have, historically, particularly, probably not now, but financial advisors really speaking to how do we accumulate more at a rapid rate, regardless necessarily, it hasn't been, again, historically, but not necessarily taking into account the motivations of the client to a great degree.
Correct. Look, US is the center of capitalism. I've experienced the best and worst of it. Their model of advice over there is inherently flawed, and I'm being a bit polite there. Ultimately, it's a 1% to care for your wealth. That is, and they would argue that's fee based.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue that's completely conflicted.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue that you're misaligned with the client,
mm-hmm.
that you're incentivized to get more of their wealth,
mm-hmm.
regardless of the advice,
mm-hmm.
and that's not a fiduciary. Quite
mm-hmm.
simply, that's not how a fiduciary acts. A fiduciary doesn't have that conflict that needs to deal with in the way they deliver advice. So I've experienced that head on. The US model, ironically, is on a commercial basis, the advice industry over there is way ahead of Australia. They've corporatized their models.
Sure.
They think much more like businessmen.
Sure.
Businesswomen. They are just, way ahead of us. Though we are rapidly catching up, which is great, and I'm proud to be part of that. An industry that's trying to act professional.
So is it almost like they've corporatized a philosophy that isn't quite right yet? They're better. They've actually created a model around a philosophy that isn't quite.
We haven't built it around the client.
Well, that's right.
And it's as simple as that. And here's the flaw in their system.
Okay.
The client's not in it. That fee model ensures the client's not involved in the conversation because it doesn't match up with the client's needs. And the ridiculousness of charging someone with $5 million, 1%, $50,000 a year for no more work, for putting them into the model portfolio. That has to become up as an issue. That is just a misalignment of the client's needs versus the advisor's needs, and it will break. Eventually that has to break. So I'm part of the solution in the US and trying to educate the market that, the value advice has nothing to do with the investments, and that's just purely a commodity. It's oil. It goes into the engine, keeps the car running. It's important, critical to the financial planning, but the real value advice is way more than that. And I think Australia's got that inherently better than the US. But it's been a hand-to-hand, man-to-man, woman-to-woman combat business. It requires Joe and his 20 years experience to be able to do it as well as you do, where I thought about it a bit differently. If the value advice is helping people build better lives, then why can't we create technology that supports that conversation? So me as a junior who's coming through the ranks can very quickly be equal to Joe by following a process that does it equally, if not better than Joe does it, because it's actually process driven, not his instinct and his typical, your EQ and all those things you've learned over time.
I think we're fighting, as a financial advice profession, we're fighting against history, and history is all about justifying our worth and value, perhaps on the wrong metrics.
Yeah, open that door.
Yeah, I even think about all the technology that we use. I feel like it excites the financial planner more than it excites the client.
playing right into my
There you go,
wheelhouse.
Dorothy
here.
Dixer, go for it.
You prepped me well for that one.
Yeah.
Look, technology's all been created with the wrong person in mind. It's who cares about their statement of advice or the product recommendation or the investment proposal document? Like, they're just not going to be read. But we spend all this time trying to create it. We worry about meeting our compliance when compliance should be basic. I act in my client's best interest. That is it.
Yeah.
I don't worry about compliance because I only act in my client's best interest.
Believe it or not, I feel like I've had a few client engagements of the past, and I almost have to convince them of the philosophy that it's not just about the best financial strategy from the perspective of performance. I almost have to convince them of that, unwind a client's thinking, let alone an advisor's thinking, because we've been so conditioned over so many years to be hell-bent on not necessarily regarding that these financial decisions we make actually affect other parts of our life, which are equally, if not more important.
So I was trained by a product industry to sell product, but I was on my way. I was trained by incredible people who an innate ability to connect to a client, their EQ, and that was the product experience that we had back then. And what's happened in between those times is we created the service experience. So we're in the service business. So we've got to create great services for our clients and try and give them great service experience. I think we've moved beyond that now. We're in the experience economy. And products aren't going to matter because we all know, we're all waking up to the world now of AI and how it's just going to dismantle anything that's just simply not true, and that's alpha creation. We're in this experience economy now where the real job of what we're trying to do is give people extraordinary experiences.
Yes. And
to do that, we need technology that supports it. Now, that ain't my risk profile. That ain't my fact find. None of that stuff's going to matter. The non-financial spouse is bored out of their brain, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. But we've got two people that walk in to seek advice in a family. One of them is completely disengaged, and one of them acts like they're engaged.
Just tell me a little bit about the engagement of the non-financial dominant partner, whether it be a female or what the stats say in the US, please.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, this was obvious to me, and was one of the big drivers around building Lumiant that I wasn't going to create a better performance report, right? That's others are going to create that, or a better administration document, or whatever, the stuff that clients don't log on to, right? 5% of clients around the world log onto an investment platform to see how they go to a thing that advisors have no control over.
Yep.
And again, that's a bit confrontational, but we have no idea what's going to happen in the markets tomorrow. And if we're saying we do, I suggest we might need to check ourselves in, right? So that piece of technology hasn't resonated while we've got this non-financial spouse who is the decision maker in the family, who's been completely and utterly disengaged. So US data, not sure it's replicated in Australia, can't guarantee it. I would suggest it's not as bad. 70% of females intend on firing their partner's advisor and their partner's moving on, so death or divorce. So that's 70% of really saying, I don't want my advisor, I have no relationship with them. I've actually met this guy in Miami and I was talking about what we build, and we're targeting the non-financial spouse, and I'll never forget this conversation because it was one of the first few times I've just really felt a little bit of anger towards someone as he said, oh, no, I get this. When the female comes in, what I do is I always look at them in the eye. I mean, what was going through my head at that moment was a headbutt sort of stuff. I was like, you arrogant prick.
Yeah.
Like, you just miss it. It's not about looking someone in the eye. It's about genuinely about caring about what's important to them.
Yep.
30% of women intend on 50% of women feel patronised by our industry.
Yep.
Like patronised.
Yep.
Now, even if you look at the stats on participation in our profession, it's 15 to 20% females, 80 to 85% men. Now, controversially, I'm going to say this, why they don't feel it aligns to their values. That is it. It's a values conversation.
Might I add that, in some ways, just historically, given that perhaps traditionally or in the past, the females haven't been involved in the financial engineering side
the product
of it
economy.
as much.
Yeah.
It's actually been, in a way, it's a blessing, because when we talk to females about money, they actually get the meaning side of it so much more. And that's ultimately the important part. And the reason I feel perhaps that there is this situation where I would sack my advisor as a result of them not really speaking to me is because the advisor keeps talking about the financial engineering side. And that's important, right? Everybody wants to make sure that they cross the T's and dot the I's when it comes to the financial planning strategy side. But without the contemplation of what all of this is for, without the understanding, let's have a few examples as an example, like just talking about understanding that working a 4-day working week may allow us to have one more day to care for our aging parents, as an example, and what consequence that would have on the family unit. The person that is narrowly focusing in on a financial strategy to everything else, to the exclusion of everything else, doesn't quite get the fuller picture. So whether it be the female or the male that is the non-dominant financial person, it doesn't really matter. That non-financial dominant person often has an advantage.
Huge advantage.
Do you agree with that, or is that, am I running completely off here?
And again, I'll double down on the experiences. Like we are here to create extraordinary experiences for our clients.
Yep.
That's the business we are in.
Yep.
To be able to help them live the life that they dreamt of, we need to truly understand what drives them in lives. That's not our strategies.
No.
That's not our products.
No.
That's their values.
Yes.
That is what drives them in life.
Yes.
And that was the core religious, mind you, DNA of when we built Lumiant, which was this idea that we have to help people identify their values and create a system that does it. The business is much bigger than that now.
Yes.
But what we've uncovered from the non-financial spouse, when they get to talk, and I should define non-financial a little bit because we always think it's the women.
Yes. No, that's the point. Yeah.
It's changing in time, but the non-financial spouse is probably both. I mean, the couple that walks in to see an advisor, to see you, Joe, both don't know the answers. Hence, one might pay the bills, one might read the Fin review. I would still argue they're completely non-financial.
They know enough to be dangerous, maybe.
They know too much to be dangerous.
Yeah.
They're non-financial still.
Yep.
That's why they're both in.
Yeah.
Now, what we've tried to do is help create a process where that couple can have a conversation about truly what's important to them.
Yes.
Like that's the stuff we want to uncover. Off the back of that comes extraordinary goals.
Yes.
The average plan in this country, 1.3 goals in it.
Yep.
1.3, where we got 7.8 on our platform. So 6 times.
Yep.
6 times more goals by having a conversation about people, what truly drives them in life. With 7.8 goals, now our job is even more relevant.
Yes.
And the strategies we need to employ to help them achieve those things, now it's even more relevant.
So let's talk about Lumiant a little bit, because I think we just want to uncover that a little bit. So obviously I was saying I have personally got certain financial planning softwares that allows me to do things like CRM management, storing files, be able to do some projection work in the background, those types of things. But they often are almost creating an ability for me to be able to meet my obligations, not necessarily a front-showing client experience that is based upon some sort of behavioral finance. So again, I think when I listen to you and I think about what you're trying to do here with Lumiant, it's about matching a client's accumulation and money with the meaning of life for them specifically. And allowing advisors to operate that.
You just pitched Lumiant perfectly.
Okay.
I would add, it's this very simple way of thinking about it.
Yep.
So all the great advice I gave clients over the years of being an advisor on my firm did, in 5 or 10 years' time, that client would walk in and wouldn't recall anything. They have no idea what we've helped them achieve. We wouldn't remember what we'd helped them achieve.
Yep.
At that stage, it became a relationship and friendship, and the transaction was kind of guaranteed almost.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we heroing something we've got no control over, this product, or giving them a log on? I mean, why would we ever do that in comparison to hero all the amazing things we've helped our clients achieve in life? And if the value of advice is helping people lead better lives, then I wanted to create a platform that did that. And it is that, therefore, about experience. It's about the client experience. It's not about, the client doesn't care less about any of the technology. You know this, that you just intentionally said it, that you hold. They couldn't care less. They expect you'll have it. Your CRM, there's no client in CRM. I find that kind of funny, actually, when people talk about the client relationship management tool. Where the hell's the client in it? There is no client in it.
Somewhere in a drawer.
Yeah, there's no client in it.
Yeah.
So actually, I think I've created a CRM, the first one ever created, because it has the client in it. The whole client lives in it.
Yep.
Everything about their client journey through advice from the moment they've touched you, every document, every task, every goal, everything that they said was important to them, how you can show them that their life has improved by the value of your advice, not performance. Their life has improved through the value of advice. That everything you're doing for them today is going to help them live the life that they dreamt of tomorrow. And you've set up the guardrails for them. And I think of financial planning, really simply, it's a series of trade-offs. There's not much more than this. The job of a great financial planner is to help you understand your trade-offs. I can save more. I can spend less. I could take more risk or less risk. I could help others more or not. My children, I'm in private school, or I can help my community or through philanthropy. And those trade-offs are what we sit there with a client and help them understand. And I might say I want to retire at 65 and have a holiday home at Noosa and put the kids through private school. But I might not be able to achieve that because I'm not willing to save enough or take the risk, or I'm spending too much to achieve those goals. And what we want to do is set up the guardrails for clients to achieve that and show them those trade-offs. Oh, so if I took more risk and saved a little bit more, I could have all that. Yeah. But you're going to have to accept that markets, your portfolios are going to go up and down more. Oh, okay, so I'm going to experience more volatility. Now, I'm taking a little bit of a jump forward here, but that is the world's best risk profile. The world's best risk profile is where the client says, in order to live the life I want, I'm willing to accept that risk or not. Oh, so I'm not willing to accept that risk. So what am I going to trade off? Well, maybe not Noosa Holiday House. You're going to have not go to Noosa. You're going to have to go to Rockhampton. Oh, okay, cool. That's the trade-off I'm willing to take. Or I retire later. Or the kids don't go to private school. But ultimately, once we've set the guardrails up, we've listened to everything that's important to them. We've helped them understand what's important to them. We've now built all their goals. Now our job is to help them get there. And now the value of advice comes to life. Like, it's just beautiful. It doesn't sit in a filing cabinet.
Yep.
Doesn't sit in the statement of advice, which I like to, and probably people have heard me call it the most meaningless, worthless, waste of time document ever created.
Yep.
It is wrong the moment it is written. The projections are wrong.
That's true. It changes immediately, right?
And lives change.
I know, it's almost flattening. We get excited by Excel spreadsheets, and then immediately they just become irrelevant as soon as a client's circumstances change.
Only plan that matters is where I can log on online and see how I'm going.
You're breaking my heart, Santi.
Well, we all know it, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
We've had to live with it. But this is the part, right? As an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur. You either sit there and accept the status quo. Yeah. And you go, well, this is okay. Or you go, hang on, I'm going to go about fixing it.
Yep.
And that's the journey of Lumiant, which is trying to create, with this passion I have around advice, and I truly believe we're the number one profession in the world, and advisors in this country are thriving. Hallelujah, praise the Lord, because the evil empires have left.
Yes.
We're now in this extraordinary position. We just haven't had technology to support us in delivery of that.
Yes.
They've had technology that's helped support us in delivery of sales.
Yes. So to the Joe that's sitting out there that isn't a financial advisor, meaning I can be cynical and I like to know what I'm doing before I do it. And you go and see an advisor and they ask you all of these questions that seem fluffy, and I'm like, how is this related to you making me money, mate? Can we get on with it? And sometimes you will find certain individuals, when you meet with them, that they are wanting to cut to the chase. How do you make me money? Don't ask me what's the most important thing about money to me. Don't ask me in 10 years' time where I want to be. I want you to make me the most money. How do you combat some...
So question do you take the client on first?
Well, of course, maybe there's a philosophical...
Let's assume that client's listening right now and that's what you're expecting from your advisor.
Yes.
Well, the advisor's going to scratch that itch, mate. He's going to sit there and probably go, okay, that's what you want me to do. This is what we do here. And we are great at what we do. And this is why, we're going to give you the best chance of success. And you're going to make that decision, yes or no. The reality is he has no chance of outperforming the market better than the next guy, but he's going to put a great proposition to you. He believes in it and he is right. He's done a lot of research. He has built a scientific based process to ensure you're going to get the best likely outcome. But you're asking the wrong question of him. And that good advisor is probably going to say to you, we'll scratch your itch now. I'll show you how to invest that $1 million, and I'm going to give you a lot better chance of success than you were doing it yourself, because you're going to make emotive decisions. You're going to mistime the markets, and I can control that much better than you can. But, and I'm going to pick on him for him right now. You've just signed up with me, mate, and the guy, the next meeting, your partner is in, and the next meeting, we aren't talking about this stuff. And I'm willing to work with you if you agree to sit down at the next meeting.
Beautiful.
And I'm truly going to understand what drives you both in life, because I can't be the advisor you need unless I understand this stuff for both of you.
Makes a lot
So
of
I'll
sense.
scratch the itch, but to the client who's asking that question, 1, you're living in dreamland. 2, you're asking the wrong question.
So Lumiant is about collecting an evolved version of the family's life map.
Bring the plan to life.
Bringing the plan to life, right?
Yeah.
So in my mind, when I think about that, I think about both the couple sitting down together and getting on the same page about what motivates them both to actually mobilize the capital. So there is no point in delivering the best financial strategy that you know is going to meet the brief if the individuals in front of you aren't motivated to make the decisions that you've suggested they should do and to avert their eyes from all the other possibilities that are all around them, friends, suggestions, tips, crypto, things that come up and are in their way at all times. So I almost think that what you're trying to do here with Lumiant is create a platform that engages the family in such a way through the questions that it asks, through the way it displays it back to the client, that allows them to be motivated to actually take the next steps and implement.
And delivers on the promise of advice. So we've sold in our industry. I was trained to sell, right? My view is the client should be selling us. So the client's at the end of our meeting going, how the hell do I work with you, Joe? You have just spent time understanding, taking us through a process and understanding us at a deeper level than anyone's really tried to before. In fact, we've learned things about ourselves today. How do I work with you? Well, this is what we do here, Graham. This is the next step. Fantastic. I'm signing up, right? It's unwinding everything we've been learnt and told and how we deliver our advice. But, there is nothing to sell here. We are selling a deep human connection with our clients. And if we spend the time to get to know them, all that I wanted to do was build a process that eroded and continued to memorialize these extraordinary things that we do for them in their lives and give them that anchor point for our advice.
Can you give us one example of how you've actually created that heroing their lives sort of scenario in the platform? Is that possible?
Well, yeah. I mean, it doesn't really stop.
Yeah,
it's hard to do it.
like a practical kind of...
Well, firstly, we measure their well-being.
Okay.
From the moment we met them. We measure their life priorities from the moment and how they're going to them from the moment we've met them.
Yep.
We measure their values and how they're living their life closer to their values from the moment we've met them.
Mm-hmm.
We measure how they're tracking to their best life from the moment we've met them. And not our best life, not our best product, their best life. So we're actually measuring all the things we can control.
Yep.
The other thing we can't control. And then just the ability to say, you know what, over the last 10 years, Santi, we've helped you achieve all these things and all these things we've completed on your behalf. And look at all the stuff we've still got to do. Now we're getting the kids involved and we're going to do the same for them. It's unfair to ask an advisor to remember this stuff in their head. We just don't. And we can't go through a filing cabinet and remember all the things we did 10 years ago. And even if I think about business valuations, if I was going to buy a financial planning firm, imagine being able to log on and see everything that firm's ever achieved for a client. I mean, I'm going to pay way up for that business. I now know everything about that client. So we're making it less people dependent. We're making it process dependent. And if I'm a businessman, well, that makes a lot of sense to me to make it less about me and more about the process. So we're doing a whole bunch of different things from the client and the advisor side. And the deep values component of the platform, which is helping this, the couples identify, that's fun. Like at the end of the day, it's fun.
Yeah, it is.
It's not, I've had advisors and I tear my hair out respectfully when they say it to me, that it takes a lot of time.
It does, but that's not the point. The point is that, and this is meaningful, it actually makes change. So the idea that someone would say, I'm scoring poorly on well-being, and then you start asking why, and then they're uncovering this subliminal subconscious feeling that they just need to continue to work because they don't have enough. And then you're saying, well, okay, there's an answer here. What if we were able to build in what we call a liabilities-driven investment approach, where we work out what your objectives are and bring them forward into a capital value. And if that capital value is under what you actually have, well, then we can start thinking about dropping work.
Right.
And if that's your priority, your well-being will improve as a result of that, because I'm not going to tell you what to go and do. You could buy an Aura ring, which I believe, Santi, you have, and so do I. You could buy an Aura ring to start helping you with your sleep.
So you asked the one word you said, and it was just, why? So this is our job, right? Just to sit and listen and go, tell me more about that. Tell me more about that. That's when we uncover the true things. That's where we become the profession that no other profession can be.
Yeah.
Like we talk about medicine 3.0 now, which is proactive medicine.
Yep.
This is financial planning 3.0.
Yep.
This is us being on the front foot. No one can come near us. We're in our own stratosphere. No one knows our client even remotely close as we do. We own it. And then what are they going to tell their friends? I just had this extraordinary meeting with Joe and his team. We just spent an hour and a half. All we did was they got to know us and what was important to us in our life. God, my guy just talks about investments and performance and how's the kids. No, like they're going to talk. So what we've seen is 3 times more referrals from the non-financial spouse because they're telling their friends. The extraordinary meeting I had with Joe, he spent time getting to know me. He actually didn't look me in the eye. He listened. And
this non-financial spouse thing, and I love it being genderless, like it doesn't matter which gender it is, but the non-financial spouse, the idea that you could bring them into the so it's a subtle balancing act. The idea that you could bring them into the financial conversation because we're talking about meaning, but then you can slowly upskill and empower them on the matters of financial education that they would need to have, so that at some point in time in the future, if hubby, wife, partner passes, the other one has some semblance of an idea about their finances. So they're not just sitting there going, they're engaged. But they've been engaged because you've actually engaged them on the basis of how they think about their money. What is it going to do for me? Not what am I going to do with it?
So I'm a non-financial spouse.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I am deep values driven.
Yep.
I want to live my life as close to my values.
Yep.
I want my goals to be attached as close as to my values.
Yeah.
And if I'm not doing that, I'm going to be friggin' miserable.
Yes.
Like seriously, that is, I want my advisor to remind me of the things that are truly important to me in my life. And I want them to use technology to do it, not ring me.
Yeah.
I want them to put a little notification on my phone and say, hey, Santi, remember, this is the stuff that truly matters to you. This is why you're working so hard.
Yep.
This is, its purpose. This is the things these are the goals you're working on. And remind me of those things. That's true value to me. I'm never going to log on to the investment platform. It just ain't going to happen because I don't care.
Yes.
I don't believe it's going to matter over time.
Yes.
I want to know how you're helping me live my life better and that I'm okay. And ultimately, there's 3 words, that I am for okay. So if I dumb it down, I want my advisor's technology to tell me I'm okay. That if I keep doing what I'm doing, I can live the life I want today and I can live the life I want tomorrow. I reckon most people want that. Am I okay? And therefore, I'm willing to continue to make the sacrifices I am today for tomorrow, or I'm going to have that trade-off conversation where my values have now, values don't tend to change in life. That's what we're experiencing. And even as a personal level, I don't think they do, but our priorities do.
I was just thinking, research out of the States were kind of categorizing people into certain buckets, whether you're a VIP, why you like money, why money's important, VIP, power, family stewardship, phobic. And I was thinking about the phobic. Are they phobic because they don't want to look at the money, or are they phobic because we are talking to them about their money in a way which is not digestible to them?
I think you're right. Actually, I don't know if I have a lot to add to that.
I
just think you're right.
The idea that we just typecast the person as being phobic about their money. Well, they're phobic about their money because as soon as you get them into your office, you completely bamboozle them with jargon terms, a whole bunch of things that make them uncomfortable, and don't allow them to connect with the deeper purpose of the decisions that you're making. Or talk to them in a way that can communicate it in stories and other bits and pieces to help them. I think we've got a long way to go in that regard.
Size of wealth does not matter. Everyone wants to live a better life. And we're probably living in an age now where we're getting more challenged than we've ever been.
Agree.
around our own personal values, and we're getting pulled in so many different directions.
Yeah.
And we could go and have our own podcast on that one.
Yes.
But technology for me needs to support us in leading better lives.
Yep.
And again, that's just the purpose of Lumiant. We wanted to create something that delivered on that promise with the lens of the advisor, because if we have all these extraordinary advisors out there, which they are, but they're doing extraordinary things, but their client experience is an investment performance report. And I mean that, from a technological perspective, because that's kind of where the only thing that the client can log on to, not the, the day-to-day perspective. Something's right. We've missed the important part. And I'm genuinely believing, and the more I listen to it, that we are in the experience economy now. And, I started in the product economy. I iterated into the service economy. And in my last business was a service, really. We're really in the experience economy now. And we've got to create extraordinary experiences for our clients. And technology has to support that more than anything else.
And I suppose what's on the line? Because what are the consequences of losing connection with money? Like, you're losing connection with what money does. So, in my mind, when I look at it, I think about the person that wants 1, 2, 3, 4, some arbitrary figure, because that's just the way it is. That's what they want. And in the process of doing so, everything else falls by the wayside.
Health,
well-being, relationships.
Families. Correct.
That's what we're talking about, isn't it?
We are. And we're again, I've actually coined something with you today, which we'll both remember this, financial planning 3.0. That's what we're talking about. Actually getting on the front foot with these people, getting them anchored in truly the stuff that drives them in life, and we all have that younger aspirations and brashness and, I want to do this and that. I've been that guy too. So, to be able to have that experience and sit down with someone who's younger and say, okay, we're going to take a step back here, guys. I get all that, but I assure you, I've been around long enough to know that this is the stuff that truly matters, and to be able to guide a couple through that, that's it. That is powerful. Like, that gets me going. Like, that cracks your voice. That's the ability to truly influence lives.
Yep.
And a lot of advisors join this profession for that reason.
Agree.
A lot of, I think, women have left the profession. I've talked to you about the 15 to 20% of participation.
Yes.
And by the way, in accounting, it's 51-49.
Yeah, geez. Yeah.
Which says a little bit about how they view the profession.
Yep.
If we could create a proposition that attracted that sex to come back to our profession and deliver on the promise of advice, how cool would that be?
I think I'm really optimistic. I mean, we're talking about, in some ways, the way that we communicate about it now is about looking at the problems, and actually there is a solution, and you're part of the solution, right? But I do think that there's a myriad of steps moving forward, that there are advice firms like my own that actually think about things in this way, and I'm not alone. I'm not the only one. That's why your product, your platform is actually going to be, and if not already, a commercial success as a result of it resonating with the new breed of advisor, or the reformed breed of previous advisor, which I could almost say is myself too.
I'm a reformed breed too.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd be embarrassed to tell you the mistakes I've made over my career, that I wish someone when I was young said, you know what, it's not about that, it's about this. And we're going to support you on that activity.
Sometimes you're part of a system and you're not aware of the problems with the system until you do, and then you might do something about it.
And then you challenge it. And it requires people like us to say, you know what, we're not going to live with that. We're going to have a crack at fixing it.
Yep.
And go against that institutional behemoth.
Exactly. So when you heard about my podcast and the title, It's Never About Money, what sort of comes to mind, or what came to mind?
Hallelujah. It's not. It's just simply not. And we'll get repetitive, but it's just not.
Yep.
It's the ability to influence lives through this profession by helping people live the life that they dreamt of.
Yep.
Not the products they didn't.
Yep.
Like, wow.
Yep.
It's just never been about the money. We told it was, we were trained it was. It's just wrong.
Yep.
There was a embedded, conflicted industry who came in and told us that they have something better and they have something better and mine's better than theirs. All BS.
Yep.
Kept us all focused the wrong way.
Yep.
when all we should have been thinking of, and technologies come in too and overpromised and said, I can do this, I can do that, and that'll solve this, and it's never delivered, which is one advantage I've got because I've been on the other side of that conversation too many times where I swore I'd never want to do that with Lumiant. You know, we wanted people to go, it improved my life and it saved me money. You know, technology to support and advise and they're achieving their potential, which is unbridled, really, the potential of this business, the ability to serve more people because we've got technology that supports the process. So it's not just 100 clients we can help, it's 200 or more. You know, wow, that's just 200 families I've helped achieve better, you know, better life outcomes. What a better, you know, is there a better thing to say? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, and I think when we reflect on our peers, and I think now more than ever in the financial advice profession, financial advisors are all quite excellent in the strategy side of it, the technical kind of aspect of things. You should expect a certain amount of acumen when it comes to portfolio management. And
so is ChatGPT.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So what differentiates us? And I was going to actually ask, it's a good segue into like, what role does AI actually have, you know, in advice, and also how's it going to affect your platform?
Well, it doesn't affect us. So look, the profession should thrive.
Yep.
Because it'll force us to realize it's not about the money.
Yep.
And you don't have a better strategy. And look, this can cut to the bone a little bit, but I've been on the other side of it too. I've met a lot of advisors and they don't have better strategies. They're good strategies, but it's not better than the next guy.
Yeah.
And let's say there's probably 12 to 15 strategies out there. ChatGPT knows them all. And you're going to be able to say, pop it in and you're going to get the answer. That is not a value proposition. I used to say it's the $30 an hour stuff. You know, when I started in the profession, the smartest guys, the best guys were the strategy guys and the product guys, and they had the corner room and corner office, and they looked over the harbour and they had everything. You know, that person now has still got the corner office. They don't have a view and they're not valuable.
The EQ guys have taken over?
The EQ guys are back. So let's go back to where we started. 80s. It was all EQ. There was a product sale at the end of it, but it was huge EQ. They knew your children's name. They knew your children's birthdays.
They could read the room.
They could read the room. They are world-class empathizers. That art was kind of lost. We got into the service and the product and all that type of stuff. Yeah, it's the EQ's back now, baby. And that's the game we can't lose. Like, we just can't lose. So
harder for AI to replicate the EQ side of things.
I hope it never, well, if it does, we're all in trouble.
But
other professions are going to...
I won't be around, I don't know, or maybe I will.
Other professions are going to be under attack a lot more than we are.
Yep.
Because we can play to our strengths, which is that human connection and that relationship.
Yep.
You know, the tax return, commoditized.
And I actually think that people will more likely take on a recommendation for their health from a robot than they would their money recommendations. I have this feeling.
No, I think you're 100% right.
We care more about our money sometimes than health.
Yeah, but that's going to be commoditized, and that's cool, right? We're happy with that. But you know, so all the roads lead to financial planning be the EQ profession. Probably already was. We all did it in our own different way. Now that's okay if you're a one-man band to continue to do it your way. One-man band businesses are going to struggle to survive because we're watching we're going through a financial planning industrialization phase right now. It's extraordinary to watch. I love it. I'm proud to be part of it really for the first time, which I'm watching these entrepreneurial firms pop up, corporatize their model, think like business people. I'm not the guy who runs it just because I started it. I'm hiring someone who runs the business, and I've got COOs, and they're thinking so much different around how they run their businesses. And it's only going to create better businesses and better client outcomes. But that small one man's going to really struggle to compete with them because the breadth of services they're going to be able to provide, and they're already providing. And this is happening. You know, the conflict of FOFA ending. I'm not sure if you know the 3 years post FOFA where everyone took one more. Not everyone, but a lot of people took a conflicted check once more. So let's say that's 2019. Ever since then, we've just started thinking like entrepreneurs as a profession broadly. Obviously, there's been great firms like yours thinking like that for a long time. But we're seeing this birth of entrepreneurialism and independence and corporatization of the models. And so it's going to be this natural shift that the one man's are going to struggle, but those businesses that get it and understand their client value proposition, understand we're in the experience economy and the whole game is there. we're going to win and win extraordinarily profitable businesses with no threats.
That's an optimistic. Optimistic ending, but I don't want to end there. I want to ask you, with everything that you are doing, and I know that this is the beauty of what you're doing at the moment. Not only are you doing it domestically, but you're doing it globally. You're actually you've launched your platform in the US.
Yep.
An unenviable task, because I think the challenges that we have here to have advisors think the way that the platform actually set up be even harder, I imagine, in some ways in the States. But my question really is, what are the challenges that you need to solve going forward? What keeps you up at night?
Look, one of the things I have to stop doing
Yes.
to myself is putting myself in the deep end and trying to swim like crazy. It's been an occupational hazard I've done far too many times in my career, and I've promised myself I will never do this again. So I've currently got myself out of the deep end, but I decided to get on the second plane out of Australia post-COVID, get straight to the US and try and crack the US market. I was fortunate to crack the 10th biggest firm over there.
Yep.
And the second largest accounting and advice firm in the US as a core client.
Amazing.
Client. So that's, the risk paid off, but you're still in the deep end like crazy swimming. When I think about the challenges, by putting yourself in the deep end, you're constantly challenging yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sitting there, you're almost, what most business people should do is almost imagine how you destroy your business every couple of years.
Mm.
How would I destroy your firm, and then start to plan for that? So we talked about that in the last part of the conversation, which is how to destroy it, have an investment proposition, and watch that get commoditized.
Mm-hmm.
For me, being in that deep end has made us go, well, we started off with a religious component of the platform, which is, it's, if you're not delivering values-based advice, you're not doing it right. And wrong or right, that's what we said. And, we said it and partly feel wrong about it now, but that's what we said. We believed it at the time. 13 modules later, and a full client and advisor experience platform has been created because we were constantly in the deep end, challenging ourselves, listening to our clients and saying, we want this, we want this, we want this. And in fact, our clients ended up building the platform. And we don't have another module to build. It's just our clients now making it better. So we're in a really enviable position because of the risks we took. We're now...
It's created its own ecosystem in a way.
We've created its own ecosystem. I wouldn't say we're at right scale yet.
No.
Because our ambitions are higher still. There's so many opportunities to bring the platform over multidisciplinary firms and to be the entire stack above. The real true CRM, the client relationship management tool, not the product relationship management tool or the sales relationship management tool, which is the current CRM model. It's to truly create a stack that sits above the entire business, where anything that a client and advisor are working on is happening in one ecosystem. Long-winded answer to ask your question, what keeps me awake at night? Are we talking commercially or personally?
It's both. I mean, I get a sense that, we've talked about all these themes. When we go into a meaningful career and have as much passion as you do, sometimes the consequence of that means that other areas of life can sometimes fall by the wayside temporarily or structurally for longer periods of time. Do you ever feel like that's been the case? Is that a challenge that you're constantly working on?
Cut to the bone. It's exactly a challenge that I've had to work on.
I know it because it happens with me all the time.
So never again. Never again. So the learning for me has been that personal well-being and family well-being is way more important than anything else.
Yeah.
So when you're in an entrepreneurial startup phase, it can be consuming. But I'll never do that again. That's just a harsh lesson to learn. I'm sure many of us do. And I hope for anyone who's listening who's thinking about an entrepreneurial activity, you need to have a real good look at yourself before you do it, because the sacrifices can be huge, and to be aware of that. Look, what keeps me awake at night now? Look, I'm in a fortunate stage in life. I feel I'm healthy. I've got a good family. I've got great people around me. I honestly, and it's going to sound really, really self-centered, but I just want to be content
Yeah.
and live with that inner peace. And I don't think happiness is the word. It's just, and anything that gets in the way of that right now, I'm really kind of got a force field up.
I think that comes with the territory around, I kind of call it the mid-time, right? So we're at Wednesday in our life if we're from Monday to Friday, and we want to protect our Wednesday because our Thursday depends on it, and our Thursday is really important.
Yeah. I use it.
I think that's what it is.
I call it the third quarter I'm in.
Yep.
And this is going to be the best quarter.
Yep.
But to do that, you really have to care for yourself. And I think all of us as humans need to care for ourselves more.
Yep.
And it's not being selfish. I think it's partly being selfish to be selfless.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're not content and healthy and looking after your well-being, then it's hard to help others.
Yeah, I agree.
So you've got to be very wary of what energy you give up to others in your commercial life.
Yep.
And there's a right balance in there, and I think you get that in time. But I'd have that conversation personally with anyone one-on-one. But what keeps me awake at night is just keeping the smile on my face, making sure that I'm doing everything I can to support the people around me. Because my values are pursue work with purpose. My value are support and protect those I love. And I every day think about the opportunity. How can I help other people? Because I just innately found that I get so much more out of giving. And, kind of we know this as part of our DNA.
We know it.
It's not about the money.
Nah.
But then you the more you give people, it's like, wow, look at all this stuff I'm getting back. It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so fun. And I probably did it in my life. I've just become much more aware of it.
Yeah, it's awesome. You don't get out scot-free. Obviously, there's a book there that says spirit animals, and I usually ask the question, what's your spirit animal? So you can't really get out scot-free just because you're in studio now.
God, you got to prep me for that one.
Nah.
What's your spirit animal?
You just have to feel it, apparently. I don't even know what that means. But
what are some of these examples of spirit animals that you've heard?
Well, apparently I'm a bit of a dolphin. So
Dolphin?
Yeah. So I don't know what that really means.
What's my spirit
Big nose,
animal?
maybe.
Oh, mate. I mean, the first thing that came to mind was
Hit me.
a whale.
Perfect.
That's the first thing that came to mind.
You like to breach. You like to make big noises. Peace.
I'm out there just enjoying myself. I haven't really got too many predators. I'm just cruising through life, having a good time with a big smile on my face.
That's as good an answer as I've got.
I've actually had the incredible natural opportunity to swim with whales, and it happened by chance, and they swam with me. Clearly, I didn't swim with them.
Of course.
But
whale shark?
No.
Proper
I
whale.
literally pop up next to me.
Oh my God, I would have freaked out.
And then played with me for half an hour.
Amazing.
And I was in awe of them, and they were entertaining me. And mum or dad, or I assume it was mum, was teaching Bub how to interact with me, and it was the most extraordinary experience. So I feel really...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I think that analogy
That's
or the
so
metaphor
cool.
for the whale is it's just cruising through life, having a good time. Got that big smile naturally on their face, and they're just at peace. I'm going to run with that.
That's awesome.
And now for the rest of my life, I'll be thinking about
You'll be doing that, yeah.
the analogy.
Well, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. I know you're a busy man. I knew we'd have a good conversation because we've had very brief interactions before, but keep up the great work. I love what you're doing. I'm definitely keeping a lookout on the platform and what you're doing, and encourage everyone else to have a look at Lumiant because it's a bit of a game changer. So again, thanks for coming in. Really appreciate it.
It's not about the money, mate. Loved every minute of it.
Good on you. Thanks.
I hope that this one was enjoyable to listen to and there were some moments of value. If you have resonated in any way with the sentiments of this podcast, we would be delighted to direct you to our website, www.itsneveraboutmoney.com.au, for more free resources and education aimed at improving your capacity to make sound financial decisions for the benefit of your family. We wish you every success, however you define it.